Representative McCollum. Thank you, first of all, so much, and welcome to the great city of Minneapolis. But just to take a moment to say thank you for your efforts. I am a former Deputy Executive Director of the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. I spent 7 years working in public housing with this great agency here, and Executive Director Cora McCorvey. And I'm well aware of your long record of support for public housing residents and the work that you all do. I really, really appreciate. So I wanted to say that out of the gate. So thank you. I'd like to express my appreciation on behalf of the mayor and the council members of the city of Minneapolis and our partners for this opportunity to share our viewpoint, I'm going to put on my glasses here, and recommendations on the successful implementation of the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. I would also like to thank the Subcommittee on Housing and Community Opportunity for bringing NSP implementation issues forward. Finally, I would also like to thank the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, not only for awarding funds to Minneapolis, but for the changes they have made in developing the Neighborhood Stabilization Program in response to our program suggestions to improve the feasibility of carrying out the program in our local housing markets. The NSP resources that you have provided have proven critical to addressing the foreclosure crisis in our neighborhoods. However, the current allocation is only a first step when looking at the challenges faced by our communities most highly impacted by foreclosures. The stability of these Minneapolis neighborhoods are significantly and uniquely impacted by high percentage of decline in property values, the level of fraudulent mortgage activity, and the disproportionate effect of foreclosures on people of color. One notable manifestation of a high level of fraudulent activity in Minneapolis was the investment company known as T.J. Waconia, which purchased and flipped more than 150 homes in North Minneapolis. The city, with the assistance of the county, was successful in prosecuting the principals, who are now in federal prison. The homes that were victory. The homes that were part of this scam have now been recovered and are being rehabilitated and sold to homeowners. It should be noted that low-income neighborhoods in our community have also lost hundreds of millions of dollars of equity, stripped from the neighborhoods. Residential mortgage foreclosures continued to rise in Minneapolis until 2009, when we've detected a slight downturn in foreclosures. The decreases are partially due to lenders' voluntary moratorium on foreclosures and the increase in foreclosure prevention loan modifications or short sales. In 2006, 1,610 homes in Minneapolis went to foreclosure sale, over half of them in North Minneapolis. In 2007, 2,895 homes went through foreclosure sale. 54.7% of these were in the north side wards of the city. In 2008, there were 3,000 foreclosures. Foreclosures, as I mentioned, decreased slightly in 2009 with 1,896 through the end of October. Many of these foreclosures are investor-owned properties that we've heard about from various panel members. Minneapolis neighborhoods hardest hit by foreclosure are in South Central, Northeast, and North Minneapolis, as discussed. My testimony now will address the following specific issues or questions raised by the committee. First question asks how the NSP program in Minneapolis, how it is tailored to address the foreclosure crisis in the city. Well, Minneapolis, as mentioned earlier, has some unique strategies that we've been putting in place, and they're focused on prevention, number one, 2, reinvestment, purchasing and rehabilitating homes, and number 3, repositioning these neighborhoods for market recovery. Minneapolis received $14 million in NSP1 resources, has dedicated an additional $3 million in non-federal funding to the Minneapolis Advantage program to assist low-income households with down payment and closing cost assistance in the purchase of foreclosed properties. Minneapolis, through a consortium agreement with Hennepin County and the city of Brooklyn Park, was awarded $19.5 million in SP2 resources to be allocated to eligible activities. With the additional funding, the city of Minneapolis and our community partners, many of whom are here, will be poised and able to purchase and rehab and get back in the hands of homeowners over 700 homes in our hardest hit neighborhoods. The city is putting NSP1 dollars to work. Over 43% of the funds that we received in the first round have been obligated. We have 9 nonprofit developers that are in the neighborhood buying homes, foreclosing them, and people are moving into the homes. So I want you to know that we're acting responsibly, we're investing quickly, and the money is being obligated. In response to question 2, Minneapolis has located and been able to purchase REO properties, real estate owned properties. I didn't know that word 2 years ago, REO. Learned it now. And ensure the participation of banks and other owners of REOs. As was mentioned earlier, Minneapolis uses 2 novel concepts in its effort to purchase REO properties. As has been discussed here today, the major issue confronting many of our neighborhoods is our investors, coming in from outside of the community with no connection to the community, and we're in a race against cash investors in our city. And one of the unique things that we've been able to do, working through the First Look program, part of the National Community Stabilization Trust, we formed something called the Twin Cities Community Land Bank. The First Look program, in combination with the land bank, has been central in our efforts to get properties out of the hands of banks and back into the hands of homeowners. The Twin Cities Community Land Bank is a public-private venture with a focus on community rebuilding efforts. The First Look program is coordinating the transfer of REO properties from financial institutions nationwide to local housing organizations in collaboration with state and local governments. A key component of recovery efforts is to gain control of properties and then manage the disposition and redevelopment of those properties at a scale large enough to build confidence and stimulate investment. Finally, the third question asked for me was, what challenges are we facing when dealing with NSP 1 and 2? As mentioned earlier, I think there are 3 areas that we really need to focus on in our future efforts. Number 1 is, again, a recognition of the fact that we're in competition with investors. As the Commissioner pointed out, there are regulations in the NSP program that are very burdensome, and when we're competing against cash investors, we have willing buyers who are told to wait 30 days. We have other requirements such as the environmental, etc., that are simply making our efforts to purchase these homes extremely challenging. I encourage HUD to look at these regulations and work with communities to make changes. Finally, I would like to advocate that the definition of eligible properties under NSP 2 be redefined to include short sales. That isn't it. The new foreclosure is a short sale. So we have a 1-month inventory of foreclosure properties in the city of Minneapolis, Twin Cities areas today, and we have a 12-month inventory of short sales. And cities, communities, our partners who are trying to purchase these homes are stymied every step of the way by incoherent record keeping, multiple banks and servicers fighting, and the homes remain vacant and a nuisance to the adjoining neighbors. Thank you. In addition, we recommend some changes to address limited funding. I hope NSP 3 will come forward, and I would encourage whatever future efforts we have that they be more focused on being upstream. As has been mentioned here today, we have larger issues, and if we can keep families in homes, mortgage foreclosure prevention counseling is key. Emergency crisis repair funds to help low-income seniors and other low-income people who are choosing between paying mortgages and their roof or a boiler. Employment services to increase household income, and foreclosure-related assistance to stabilize renters in particular who have been very hard hit. Finally, I commend the subcommittee today for focusing on the impact of foreclosures on low-income renters. In Minneapolis last year, over 50% of all foreclosures were rental properties. Many of the tenants affected paying their rent and given no notice of the default from the landlord, and many ended up homeless, as described earlier. Finally, I want to thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with you and stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.